Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Battle Chads. I am Josh, and my co-host has been very selfish this week because he's gone to go see his brother he's not seen in 10 years, and he's gone to Italy on a family trip. So selfish of him, honestly. So I've had to get a step in, and I've got none other than the fabulous Will Hall. Will, how you doing?
Fabulous, fabulous. That's what I feel like I'm going to introduce myself as now from whenever I do casting. And I'm the fabulous WillHallExp.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I mean,
that's not the real reason. You didn't say that he went because his family. You said, "Oh, look, he only came 9th place, so we need someone that can actually top 8 an event to come on the podcast." I was like, "All right, mate, I'll do this one solid for you." But
yeah, so you're referring to is the Axion that happened not last week, the week before of this recording, where you top 8'd the Mega Modern with the deck we're going to talk about today, which is Boros Energy.
Yeah, it's a good deck.
Yeah, it's a very good deck. It's all you pretty much see online at the moment. But so this week's pod, what we're going to do is going to do a sort of deck tech, but it's going to be a featured episode as well. So we're going to have a conversation about the upcoming BNR, which is on the 26th of this month. Massive hype for it because, well, it's a long time coming.
Yeah, it's too late in my opinion, but here we are. We'll talk about that later.
It's much too late, but we will talk about that. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the deck, Boros Energy. You've been sweating this deck quite a bit with somewhat success.
Yeah.
Especially looking back at the Axion tournament where you qualified for their end of year Pro Tour
PTQ.
Invitational. Yeah, PTQ. Yeah,
Yes, it's PTQ. It's just going to be a small PTQ.
Cool. So what we'll do is then we'll go through each individual card. Not if we have to talk about it, we'll talk about it. If it's like an obvious thing like Lightning Bolt, then we'll just skip that. But first and foremost, Will, what is this deck trying to do? What's the game plan of this deck?
You are trying to get creatures on the battlefield as early as possible while turning them sideways as early as possible and finishing your opponent off before they get to do their game plan. You go extremely wide because of some of the best one-drops in the game currently, Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, and a couple of Ragavans. These are all just great one-drops. So if you can go like turn 1 Soul into turn 2 double Ocelot's Pride, you just go so wide. And because Modern at the minute is a lot of 1-for-1 removal at best in some decks. Not a lot of them play sweepers besides Jeskai Control, which you try and dodge. That Wrath of the Skies is a very good card against this deck, but that's what the idea of it. You've got things like your 2-drops, so Ajani and Raptors, which just flood the board even more, and then your late game is Flage, which that card's a card, dude.
That card is
Mason Clark putting that one together.
Nuts, that card. I mean, it's so nuts. Like, it's used as a lot of finishes and control decks.
Yeah.
A lot of, and the thing about Flage as well. In fact, we may as well talk about Flage now since we're talking about it.
Yeah, go for it.
So Flage it turns you from a sort of curves out into an aggro deck, aggro finisher, but it also gives the aggro decks a mid to late game sort of strategy. So instead of throwing all your creatures out, if you said. As you said before, throwing all your creatures out going wide, hit a board wipe, for example, or you hit a lull in the battle, you've actually got a late game mid-range plan, which is something quite unique to an aggro strategy that we've not really seen before. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's also just it doubles up as a card, like it needs to be answered. So on the way down, of course, the lightning hit, it's a 3 mana. Maybe it gets a blocker out the way. That's kind of the game plan the first time you cast it. But the second time it comes out the graveyard, it's a legit threat that has to be answered. And if that's not costing me any resources in my hand, right? Like it is a free card that I am now playing. And my opponent has to have a counter spell, has to have a removal for it. A subtlety, something along these lines. Like if I can get another card out of their hand, that's great for me because I haven't used any of my resources really besides my turn, I guess, to get it out. But that means my opponent is now 1 card down, so I can try and resolve some things later on down the board. But this deck, like by turn 3, turn 4, can just win the game on the spot. It's that in itself is crazy, and everyone would be calling this to be banned, I think, and broken if there wasn't Nadu in the format that just happens to be quicker and win from more different angles. But even because this one's so quick, I think this is why it's still got a bit of game against the Nadu decks, and obviously its sideboard is great. But Flage is huge. It's not just good in this deck; it's good in all Boros decks or Jeskai decks, whatever people want to put together. I think that's kind of, it's like there's a few cards in this deck that are just locked, right? You're always going to have Soul Guide, always going to have Oscar's Pride, always going to have Ajani, always going to have Raptors, always going to have Flages. So for this, I kind of had my flex slots with the Ragavans and the Bone Crusher Giants. Ragavans, I wanted the original, when I was like testing it, I was playing where some of the enchantments we're talking about. I was playing a couple of Fable the Mirror Breakers. I think I was on a full 4 copies, and I always wanted something to do turn 1, and I thought it's not going to be like Magic Online. There's not going to be like a bunch of mirrors. There's going to be a load of Tron there as well, I imagine. I think this card's like, Ragavan turn 1 against Tron is great.
Oh yeah.
I get to ramp out. I've got a threat on the battlefield. I mean, that labels me to turn 2, a Blood Moon, etc. So like I wanted to up my copies of that and go to 3. And then obviously because I thought there's going to be a bit of control, I thought there was going to be the Jeskai decks. Anything that plays 1 ring, I was like, well, I'm going to play my Bone Crushers in the main. I don't think people will kind of hedge towards that. It's more of a sideboard card at this point. It does have main deck uses. It can just be a shock when I need it to be, or it can be a 4/3 creature on the battlefield when I need it to be, or both, depending on how long the game's going. So it's got a little bit upside. It's not ever going to be a dead card in an aggro deck like this.
The thing is with Bone Crusher as well, it has a lot of text, and one of the things that people forget is that if you target it with spell, it will do 2 damage to you. So
yeah,
it's a very aggressive card. It's a great card, I think. I used to play some copies when I was playing Rhinos last year. I used to play some copies of Bone Crusher Giant because it was just it's a fight against 1 ring because you can stomp, deal 2 damage. I think you can't target them, so you have to do it to yourself.
You do it yourself or one of your creatures, target your own flage, whatever it needs to be, as long as it resolves. That's the main part. Yeah,
damage can't be prevented. Nice 1 ring, bro. And then
because normally in this deck you've got such a board state by turn 4 that like if they don't have a Wrath, the only thing they can do is prevent the damage for the turn. And if they think they're safe, and then if you just untap and shock yourself, and you're like, yep, cool, turn everything sideways, let's go to the next game. Which it didn't actually come up at all during the weekend at Axion. It has a bit online when I play, but like it's not really come up much. If I was to run it back, I don't think I would play the Bone Crushers in the main anymore. I'm playing this weekend actually, and I'm not going to play Bone Crushers in the main. I've played with it in that slot. I'm not a fan of it. What I did try in this, so you're going to talk through 4 Gigant discharges. That's a lock, right? Like even if it's dead, it's a great removal spell. It's not just 3 damage. It can be more damage later on, so I can get rid of Shield Dreads or opposing Flages, whatever it needs to be. It adds me energy, which works really good with my Guide of Souls later on, or my Raptors, if I need to power something out early or even in the late game to get some stuff flying over with my Guide of Souls. Lightning Bolts is one of the cards I cut down on. So because I had the Bone Crusher Giants that do 2 damage, I cut down on 2 Lightning Bolts. So I went to the 4 go back 2 Lightning Bolts. I think maybe we need a few more Lightning Bolts. I really liked that. Like just having that bit of reach was great. Which to be honest, what I'm trying to talk about is the enchantment side of it. Okay. So the one thing I tried in the enchantment side that kind of sticks out, now it looks kind of stock, especially if you're looking at the online lists. And but I'm pretty sure I was the first one to do this, and I think I was talking to some of my streamer friends about it. And I was like, just try this card in it and see how you get on. And it's Goblin Bombardment.
Mate, this card in this deck is ridiculous.
It's so good. I told you about the go wide strategy.
Yeah,
and now we're going to turn all those tokens into 1. If I attack my opponent down to 10 and they think they're safe, they can take the hit. I then play Goblin Bombardment and I sacrifice to do 10 damage to them. It's game over, which actually happened in the top 8 against Ben Jones. Like I just had this a great opener and finished him off with this. He didn't know about it, and he was just like, he literally had me dead the turn after. So yeah, Goblin Bombardment was great. I would up in this weekend. I'm going to up that to like 2 or 3 copies. It was just so good. It's like you always want 1, you never want the second.
No.
But it was really, really good. And then finishing off the package is Fable. I played 3 of those and 3 Blood Moons. The main reason I played this deck was because of Blood Moon. Like straight up that weekend, I thought Blood Moon is in a really good place, especially if I can turn to it off an Amp Raptor. Like this is the main reason I played this over a Mardu build. Mardu's more my play style. I've got Bone Masters in there and Fort Seizes and Fatal Pushes. And what I really liked and the strong suit I think for playing Mardu was the fact I got access to Rakdos Charm in my sideboard, which I might this week. I might actually just play a Boros list with Rakdos Charms in the sideboard, have like 2 land that produce black in the main, just so I can have that card against the Nardu decks.
Yeah. I mean, you play 8th hubs, right? So you could up your 8th hubs, and there's an extra black source.
8th hub is such a awkward card,
right?
Like it's there because it basically can ramp out your Amp Raptors on 3 on like turn 2. You can hit a 3 drop basically. Other than that, Eighth Hub's probably the worst land in the deck.
Actually, when we talk about Amp Raptor, let's talk about Amp Raptor, because Amp Raptor's a weird one because you play a lot of 3-drops, and it's a fair amount of 3-drops. You've got six there,
yeah.
which is
and the 3 Plages, yeah,
and the 3 Flages. So Amp Raptor is not often a 2-drop card in this deck, I would imagine. Like you want to.
Oh no,
play this
I'm always
turn.
spamming it on 2.
So
especially if I turn 1 a Soul Guide, yeah, because you just stack your triggers to gain the energy first, and then you get it and you can cast anything in your deck. This is why 8 Hub's in the deck. It gives you that like third sort of energy on turn 2 if you need to be. But no, if I've got nothing, it's not like I've got nothing else in my hand. But like a lot of the time, I'll play Amp Raptor, even if I don't have the extra energy, just because it hits like 94% of my deck. Gets hit with it.
So Amp Raptor's an amazing card in this because it helps that go wage strategy as you were talking about before. But this deck is an energy deck. It uses the energy mechanics quite well. It's basically MH3 block constructed. So the energy mechanic along with Guide of Souls. Now, Guide of Souls is a really inconspicuous looking card until you actually read it, and this card can be anything from a 1/2. As soon as you start attacking with it, and you've got the energy built up. I mean, Galvanic Discharge often enough, the sort of drops in Modern, you are banking energy right there.
Mate, Guide of Souls is the best 1-drop I think currently. I'm gonna say Modern. Like this card, it on the surface it is just a 1/2 for 1, sure. But then if I follow up with an Oslet Pride, I've already gained the life. So now Oslet Pride is going to trigger. If I can follow this up with, an Ajani, I get 2 triggers. I gain 2 life. I get 2 energy. Like this card is so good, and because it gives the plus and plus counters, they're great. Okay, like they're always going to be good, but the flying counter is the big one.
Yeah.
Because in Modern we don't have that much evasion, and if you can like go turn 1 this, turn 2 another one of these into like a Ragavan or an Oslet Pride, it's very hard for your opponent to come back from that sort of that opener. It really is an amazing 1-drop, especially in this deck, because life gain is a good part of this deck, and so is the energy. It doesn't need either. It's got strategy, it's got a lot of game without either, but this just supercharges all your cards, all the synergies that you've got going on, and this card, I can't say enough about how good it is as a 1-drop, and I think it's going to see play for a while.
So the other 1-drop you alluded to, Oslet Pride, is a card that, because I'm a Murktide, Dimir Murktide player in Modern, I love that deck. But every time I see a turn 1 Oslet Pride, I'm like, no.
Dude, so the Guide of Souls, Oslet Pride, and Ragavan are all must-answer threats there and then.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like if you don't answer it, you're basically already on the back foot. Like these cards cannot be on the battlefield for more than a turn, or things are going to start going bad for you. And then the bad thing for that is, well, the follow-up is going to be another 2-drop, like an Ajani. Because if I follow up with an Ajani, now you can't block the Oslet Pride because I'll flip the Ajani.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to kill the Ajani first now before the Oslet Pride, or a Raptor, which mills me into another Oslet Pride, or another... Well, it spirals out of control so quickly if you can't tame this deck. And, Magic Online's showing a lot now. A lot of people are being really smart with their sideboard choices, purely just like 1-mana answers that do 1 damage to all creatures because they respect Oslet Pride so much.
Mate, I'm playing mainboard Toxic Deluge now because of this deck. Like I have to. Like honestly, you go wide, and I'm like, oh great, I've got a big Murktide out or whatever, and then you're just like, oh, I'll just attack you anyway, and then slam a Goblin Bombardment or whatever. I need to reset the board. I need to get that tempo back, and this deck sort of really challenges your tempo game plan. So Oslet Pride is great. The Ascension trigger or the Ascend mechanic, really easy to accomplish in this deck.
So easy to turn on. I think you can have it on by like turn 3 in this deck probably if you had like a nutty draw. Turn 1 Guides, turn 2 double Ocelot, turn 3 a Giant or something. Yeah, in fact it's really easy to turn on by turn 3.
And and if you pair that with a flipped Fable to the Mirror Breaker as well, you're making obscene amounts of threats.
Oh yeah, like realistically, that's what I mean. Like I would much rather have a Goblin Bombardment in that spot than a Fable. Like I think Fable, it's just an amazing card, but I think at the minute in the meta it might be a little bit not as good as I want it to be. Because I've got main deck Blood Moons is the main reason I've got the Fables, right? because there's some games where those blood moons are just not going to do anything. I need to get them out of my hand.
Yeah.
So that's why also being able to discard a Flage and bring it back that on turn 4 is great. That's like the dream. But I've seen a lot of decks moving to one ring now instead of Fables.
Interesting. That's disgusting. One ring is we'll talk about BNR, but one ring is a problem card, especially when it can just fit into everything. I will say though, just for our listeners, that the deck that we've got up here was your Axion deck, so the thing you top 8. I think you went 6-1-1 with this deck. Is that right, or 6?
Yeah, I started 5-0, then I lost to Jeskai Energy, which just trounced me. Like I was streaming it all, so you can see like I basically mulled to 6, kept to 1 lander, and never saw another land. And then game 2, I don't know what happened. Something bad happened. I got crushed, but then I don't think that's a good matchup for you. Anything with Wrath of the Skies in it, you just kind of like, okay, cool, you got me. And then I won the next one. And then I did the last round into the top 8, and then lost to Nardu Classic. But top 8 was the goal, right? Like,
yeah,
it was almost because I was playing against my friend in the top 8. It was very lackadaisical between us both. We were just like, this is how the cards are going to play. Who's going to win the match?
I mean, with Axion, you hit top 8, and you already know you've got a mountain of boosters to open after this, and also you've got the Invitational secured. The only thing you fight for
was what I worked for, right?
Yeah.
I've gone to all of them because I was just trying to do it via leaderboard, right? So there are 4 events a year. Top 8 of all of them goes to the end of the year. Top 8 on the leaderboard goes to the end of the year, and then I think the way they're doing it is they're pushing out emails to everybody that's qualified for it, saying, "Are you going to be coming?" So let's say there's 48 slots, right? So it's a 48 slot PTQ, and 5 people send returns saying, "No, I'm not going to be able to make it on that weekend for whatever reasons it is." On the Friday before, I think it's the Friday before, they're going to hold last chance qualifiers. So there'll be a five events or one big event, and top 5 get it or whatever. But they're going to fill those slots that people can't make. So I think they're aware of 2 already with last chance qualifiers. So it's still everything to play for. You can still go to Sheffield, still top 8 that. You can still go to last chance qualifier because that's going to be Axion's 10-year anniversary, like mega weekend. It's going to be not just Magic there. It's going to be Lorcana and Commander and this, that, and the other. So it's going to be loads. It's going to be a big like con, basically. Probably the biggest UK con we've had since the GP was here.
So Ellie is I'm not sure if this is privy information or not, but Ellie works with Axion. She makes some of the tokens. So if you top 8 some of the team events, for example, you get a token made out of you. Ellie does those tokens, and same for any of the artwork that she does for them. She's doing the artwork for the 10th anniversary stuff. I'm not sure if that's privy information or not. I've not been told otherwise, so there we go. I've sent it.
It probably is, but like, let's be honest. Between me and you, we probably know it's fine. You know what I mean? I could have guessed that.
So I've been sat there. She's been on her iPad before, sweating away, and she's been showing me some of the concept. It looks really cool, I think. So that'd be really, really interesting. Anyway, back to the deck. Back.
How much do we have to pay her to slip me and you in as like a pair of goblins in the background or something?
I was gonna say a joke there, but
yeah. This is a PG.
Yeah.
It's your podcast.
PG podcast.
PG podcast.
So
anyway, back to deck.
Yeah, back to deck. So we talked about a lot of the threats. Ocelot Pride. It can go away really easily. We've talked about Ajani. We haven't talked about Ajani actually.
So Ajani. Okay, the Ajani's great. It's 2 mana for 2 creatures. Awesome. Flips into a planeswalker if a cat dies, makes it blocking for your opponent really hard to do. But the fact that you've got, discharges, lightning bolts, bone crusher giants, and more importantly, goblin bombardment, you get to choose when you flip this half the time as well. And because you've got goblin bombardment, that's the red source you need. So now the flip to Ajani is now making a token and dealing a bunch of damage because you've got the red permanent. Like that's the main reason for it being in the deck, because it's just so much removal floating around the format. I will prioritize playing Goblin Bombardment on 2 before I play any creatures if I know it's a deck with black in it, or even the mirror, because I'm just turning off all the removal. What are you going to do? No, cool. It's a point of damage to your face. You're going to was it Orcish Bowmaster me?
Yeah.
Whatever you target, and I'm going to sacrifice it, kill the Orcish Bowmaster, so you're not even going to get the token. Like it. I can't tell you how good bombardment is in this deck, and you're now seeing it because all the online ones. There's like 2 free copies in every deck, and that's pretty stock now.
But this card is sick. Like even when you pair it with, like, say, Guide of Souls, you come in, you've got 2 triggers, 2 life, 2 energy, and then you can swing and start making things fly. It's hyper aggressive. It's really awkward for your opponent, because do you block? Like, do I want this to flip? Like,
No, is the answer. No, you don't want to give your opponent a free planeswalker.
yeah,
And you hit this off Amp Raptor, right? So turn 1, Guide of Souls. Turn 2, Amp Raptor. Flip this. So you go up to 3 energy, down to 1 energy, back up to 3 energy. You attack with your Guide of Souls for 3 damage. Like, you hit the 2 counters and the flying counter, and that's turn 2. You've now got 4 creatures on the battlefield. One of them's got flying and 2+1/+1 counters. Like, it's such a good deck when it goes off. But I think that's the reason you see a lot of spell snares floating around the format. Generally, because this deck's 2-drops are so efficient, and you need to have an answer to them as early as turn 1, especially if you're on the draw. So that's it's cool to see how the meta is kind of adapting to it. It's going to be interesting once the ban announcement happens. What happens in the format there?
It's awkward as well, because you say you've got a lot of 1-drops that need to be answered. You're on the play. You drop one of these 1-drops like Ragavan, for example, and then you then challenge your opponent. Do you have a spell snare or a fatal push, for example? Which one are you going to use? You're going to kill my threat that's on the board, or are you going to answer my 2-drop? And either way, you're in a good position there, because if you don't answer the Ragavan, for example, then I'm just going to ramp into Blood Moon, or I'm going to ramp into Fable the Mirrorbreaker or something. You know, it's a really interesting deck. I think
I was able to do that once on camera at the weekend. Obviously, I was backpack streaming it, and I was against Tron, and I Amp Raptored into a Blood Moon. It was just
Brilliant.
like easy.
Brilliant. Static Prison is another card. It's a really good removal, particularly in this deck, because you have an abundance of energy. It answers all the threats that mono red or red aggro decks could normally not answer. For example, Murktides,
the
ring, all that sort of stuff. Problem permanents that red decks. Why only 2? Is 2 sort of stock now? Is it?
I see people floating between 2, 3, some go in the sideboard, etc. I think I would go up to 3 and have like a third in the sideboard. Like, there was a lot of rings, and I really felt like I struggled against ring decks, even with the Bone Crushers in the main. So I'd maybe go up on it, especially because I think I don't have a clean answer to Psychic Frog, which that card is not a nightmare. It's pretty rough to play against with the Boros deck, because it's a 1/2, so most of your stuff can't attack into it. They obviously can discard a card to put +++ counters on it. So the ideal turn is I go like Gavrak Discharge. They sack it. They discard a bunch of cards in their hand, thinking that it's now alive, and then I go, yeah, cool, Static Prison it. Yeah, and they're like, I've just wasted my whole turn.
Yep. It's a really problem removal, particularly for the deck I've chosen. And onto the land base now. I'm not going to talk much about the land base. It's pretty stock. We talked about Aether Hub, but I really want to talk about Arena of Glory, because I've been playing Arena of Glory in my zoo list with Flage. Oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
If you Arena of Glory a Flage out of the graveyard, it is like what?
12 damage.
12 damage.
12 damage. 6 to face, and you gain 6, and then you can attack for 6. Yeah, you can win games out of nowhere with Arena, and if you play against this deck, you have to respect that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just Arena. I also have Giganta in this deck. I can just put Giganta in my hand, and then turn after attack you with a 5/5 elemental elk with haste.
Yeah.
Also, because it generates 2 mana, if I play 2 creatures, say I had double Amp Raptor in my hand, I can give them both haste. I use 1 red for one of them and 1 red for the other. It only has to be spent as 1 pip on whatever creature I'm casting. So, that in itself, Arena of Glory can just really haste out those extra turns and make your opponent have to think about different things.
I never actually considered that, because that's never actually happened to me, but that's so sick.
Yeah, you get given a Jarny and an Amp Raptor, or like a Bone Crusher Giant and a Raptor haste on the same turn to get across the line. It's cool. Yeah,
it's so sick. So standard other than the Arena Glory 8th hub, you've got 1 copy of Elegant Parlor. The Surveil lands, to me, end step Surveil is as good as draw a card, in my opinion.
I think I would actually. So I think I played 21 lands. I think I'd go up to 22, and I think I'd play a second Surveil land in this deck.
Yeah.
Just like the later the game gets, the more you want it, right? Like 4 mana is where I kind of hit my reach. So after 4 mana, I've got nothing to do with my mana. So at least if I can go Surveil, but obviously the god is hitting a Flage in your graveyard. You're like, yes, I'm so good at this game. But I think that's what I'd do. I think I'd add a second one. I think 2 is where I want to be. Even though this is a an aggro deck, and I always want to be able to play something turn one. I think the second one just merits it. As you said, it's basically draw a card at some point.
Yeah, it's as good as draw a card. It cleans out like draws so well, I think. I think personally, if I was to play this deck, I think I would go up to 4 Flage in this list personally. I don't know how you'd feel about that, but that's what I'd probably do. It's so the card's so good.
Flage is good. It's not like the best card in the deck, but it is good. And like 3 copies, you could easily just play a 4th and go down on Fables if you really want to. You know what I mean? Like I'm not huge on Fables, which is weird to say because I think the card's so good. But the only thing it really does is makes me a token and can turn me through my deck a bit better. The creature side of it doesn't really come into play too much.
I could happily go down to 2 Fables. I'm not sure about going down to 2 Blood Moons or not. I'm not sure how.
Nah. Like I think you're either on the Blood Moon plan or you're not. And I think half the strength of this deck is the Blood Moon.
Okay.
Right. My opponent now has to fetch mana awkwardly. Some decks can't really, they have suboptimal plays when they do that. And because this deck's so aggressive, you can't really afford to do suboptimal plays because I'll just, I'll be going over the top of you or going too wide for you to deal with. So you have to get your shock so you can, fatal push turn 1 into counter spell turn 2. And then if I start a Blood Moon, you're just locked out the game.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then, I will eventually win that game 9 out of 10 times. And again, as I said, this is the reason I played Boros over the Mardu version was this. I still might even play Mardu at the weekend. I don't know. I could even play Jeskai with the Mockingbird.
Oh, yeah. I've not seen those lists, but the Mockingbird seems to be...
Mockingbird, for 1 blue mana, you copy Guide of Souls, you copy Oscillate Pride, you copy Ragavan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just plays the 5th to 8th copy of all these great 1-drops.
Does Mockingbird follow the legendary rule then or not? I've not actually...
Yes, it does. Whatever creature you play, though, it also gains flying. So I could copy my Ragavan or my opponent's Ragavan and now I've got a Ragavan with flying.
Right, okay.
Because it's not just your it's not your creatures, it's any creature on the battlefield you can copy.
That's pretty interesting, pretty sick.
It's pretty cool.
And I guess it'll be like you can't. It's not targeted, so it enters. Then you pick a creature. You can't kill a creature in response. Well, I suppose you could, but you'd still enter as a copy of a creature.
On the stack, you can kill it. If it's got no targets, it just comes in as a 1/1 bird with flying.
So let's talk about the sideboard now, because there's some really interesting cards, particularly because you mentioned about some of your bad matchups being the Jeskai control deck. So you've chose to include 3 Sun Cleansers, which is a must answer to Wrath of Skies. So Sun Cleanser removes counters, and it stops them from generating energy counters or energy tokens, counters, I guess, to enable a Wrath of the Skies. So Wrath of the Skies just completely gets turned off by this card. 3 of them is 3 of them in there.
And so this card solely is the main reason why Jeskai plays Prismatic Ending now.
Yeah,
right? Like it has to. I think they play like 2 copies of Prismatic Ending now, because that's also the other deck I was on for Axion. I was thinking about was Jeskai. And like Sun Cleanser, realistically, I don't think I want 3 copies anymore. But going into that weekend, I couldn't use it as much as I probably could have. I didn't play against many energy decks. So I think I would have, liked to have gone down on that. I think 2 is probably where I'd sit now going into this weekend. I don't expect there to be as much Nardu because it's a smaller RCQ. I know that there's always going to be someone with Nardu, and I know it's going to be one of the best decks. So I think where the Harsh Mentor is just always going to be in the deck, basically. Like until that card gets banned, I will play Harsh Mentor.
Yeah.
I would go up to 4 copies though. Like I wouldn't mess around.
I would play 4. Yeah, against the Nardu meta, I would 100% play 4 Harsh Mentors. Really punish them on that.
I only played against Nardu once. Well, I ideally against Nardu in the last round, and then I lost to it in the top 8. That's my 2 Nardu games throughout the whole game.
Would you bring this in against
Tron?
One
Yes.
one ring decks? Oh, Tron, yeah, you would. But what against 1 ring decks? Generally, like punish their activations even more.
It depends on how many bad cards I've got. Like if they're just like if it's Tron, for instance, my lightning bolts and galvanic discharges aren't going to be doing too much. So I'm probably going to, what can I bring in over that? I've got the Charmors, so that's 3 copies there. Maybe Wear and Tears So like maybe I'd bring in like a harsh mentor or two because it's better than a lightning bolt. But then, you know, I'd kind of guess it on the spot of how I'd want to sideboard depending on what I've seen. But there is definitely other matchups I would bring a harsh mentor in for, because also, you know, people play fetch lands. Cool, crack your fetch, take 2 damage. You know, it's another threat. It's a 2/2 on the battlefield that has a little bit of upside to it. If I've got a load of dead cards and I need to put in something, yeah, these are coming in. I think the card's good. It's solid. Does what it says on the tin. I'm really happy I own 4.
The charm more is I like this card. I used to play this card sometimes in Rhinos against Tron. This card is really good. It costs less for every time they produce, or every time a player plays a land that produces colorless mana, and it's a threat that permanently answers a land. How does this stack with Blood Moon? Like, if you have Blood Moon in,
I'm slamming Blood Moon turn 3.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, would the 4th Blood Moon not be better than this, or you just diversify the graveyard, the land hate? So because obviously
this has got some extra sort of thing. One, it's a threat, right? So like it's something else late game that I can kind of turn sideways. I can cheat it out early if they've got the colorless land, as I said, because at the minute Tron isn't like the 3 Tron lands together anymore. Like, yeah, they've got them in the deck and it's great when that goes off, but it's a lot of like the labyrinths and Eldrazi temples, stuff like this now. So, you know, if I can snag one on turn 2, turn 3, I'm going to do it. And not only that, I've also got a threat on the battlefield as well, where sometimes I think I'm always slamming a Blood Moon, but they can fight out from under Blood Moon quite well, where this is just straight up land destruction and a threat. So now they've got to not only add to the battlefield, they now also have to deal with it before they end up losing the game. It's good. I think it's just, maybe it's ingrained that this is a card that you want now versus these decks. Would I, like this weekend, there's always going to be a Tron player, and I think it's a good card in this color combination against Tron. But you know, it's normally the damage can be done if they just go turn 3 Tron and you're on the draw. This card's not doing much besides taking them off Tron, and by then they've already got one big powerhouse down.
But with the land as well, forgive me because I didn't know we were going to talk about Tron, but the land which you exile 7-drop, put underneath Labyrinth. Yeah, this could be a 2/4 in that spot because you destroy that and you destroy their card as well, or exile the card.
The same. You know what I mean? If you Blood Moon it with it under it does as well. Yeah, and I caught a couple of Tron plays out this weekend with this. It's just like, you know, my game plan's so good already of going underneath them. This is just a nice mid sort of game card against them as well. And as you said, I can potentially 2-for-1 them a lot of the time if I can hit a Labyrinth. And it's just a solid card, I think, for in these colors, where especially where you've got some powerful decks, because Tron is probably arguably the most powerful it's ever been in Modern at the minute. Like it's got so many different variants. You can go the green variant, you can go the red variant, you can go the green-red variant, you can go the straight prison version. There's so many. There's the madness version. Like there's 4 different Tron decks. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's mental. Yeah, that's why I play 4 consigned to memory in my sideboard now. So we talked.
I think it's right.
We talked about Gigant, wear and tear, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment.
Go back to Giganta for a second.
Go
on. I started a talk about this on Twitter a little while ago. I don't know. I think I've answered my question by playing with it, but like it's a good conversation to have, and maybe people can like reply and give me their opinion on this. Is Giganta worth it anymore? If I'm playing against someone and they reveal Giganta, you know they're on an energy aggro deck of some description, right? It's very rare they're going to be on anything but. Yes, they could be on Scales or some obscure deck, but if they're doing that, you probably won the game already at this point. Modern's just in a different place. But if I reveal this, you now can decide in your opening hand to keep or not. Where if I just play if I play a 15th sideboard card and don't have a Giganta, is it, you know, is am I going to more likely to win that game 1, even though I've got this super explosive kind of deck, and that's what I want. I don't want you to have a hand full of, you know, Orcish Bowmasters and Fatal Pushes and Lightning Bolts and it's like early cheap interaction. I don't want you to have that or keep a hand on that strength.
So the
upside.
Go on.
Well, the upside to it is obviously when I've got nothing going on, I can put it in my hand, and then turn 5 I can Arena of Glory it 5 to the face. So it's got its upsides as well.
So that's the argument I've been having. I mean, so your deck plays 21 lands, right? And you've got a 5-drop that takes up potentially could be a card in your hand, but it's a 5-drop. So are you always gonna? I mean, I know you play Ragavans and stuff. There's a potential that you can get to 5 mana really easily. But in a Blood Moon deck, the fact that it can tap to add 5 mana and fix your colours, I think if you're playing more than 2 colours in a deck, there's a real good argument for that, particularly if you are throwing Blood Moon in the mix. So if you're playing the Mardu version, for example, it's probably better. But do you play Giganta in the Mardu build? Or?
Yeah, they played Giganta in that, but then again, I'm not sold on it. Like I still think it's kind of like 55 to 45 in the favor of Giganta for me playing with it. Like it's won me some spots, or at least gave me something to do on some turns than not having just relying on the top of my deck. It does what it says on the tin. It's not that the whole Blood Moon thing that you were saying there. It's very rare I'm going to get locked under my own Blood Moon, but it can come up, I guess. And right now, like I'm not scared against an opposing Blood Moon, where some decks in the format that used to play Giganta were. So the only thing that weirdly I've lost more games to is Harbinger, because I can't deal with that if I'm not got any of my basics. And I've been caught out by that card so many times in leagues. And just like I've got no answer for it. I'm like, oh, cool. And they just turn it sideways like 9 times and beat me to death with his 2/2. And I'm like, damn, that sucks. Like, how can I get around this? But
I was experimenting with Harbinger a while back, and I played because to me, if you experiment with a card, you want to see it as much as you can. So I slammed 4 on my deck, 1 in the main board, 3 in the side, and I was against a Mardu energy deck, and I think he had a really good like position out, loads of interactions hand. I knew he did. Slammed a Harbinger when he was tapped out because I had it main board, and he was like, he just couldn't do anything. He kept playing land drop, greedy land, couldn't play anything, and I was just there casting my blue spells and I had my basic swamp as well, and it was Harbinger's delicious, and I will always play Harbinger in my sideboard.
Honestly, it catches me out so many times. It caught me out on leagues online. Like I'm always just like, oh, damn it. And like it's even worse when you feel like you could have played around it. Like if I just why don't I fetch a basic at that point? Like why was I getting greedy? And it's made me think now. Like when I went to play this deck at Axion and playing leagues now, I really think about it. I'm like, what's the upside to me getting this shock land, surveil land, opposed to a basic? Again, it rewards you for knowing the matchups, right? It's just
because you only need 1 basic planes to this deck to be all right. I mean, you don't. Well, you have the mountain as well, I guess.
I would argue basically the mountain is more important against a deck that I think I'm going to get Harbinger.
Yeah, so you can remove it.
Yeah, I can get it off the battlefield where I've only really got the stacked prisons. The other way around. Obviously, if I've got my bombardment on the battlefield, then yeah, that's a different story. Any creatures I can just shoot stuff down, but that's where I'm at on that. So yeah, Gigant it's an interesting conversation to have at the minute. Is the information worth given to your opponent for game 1?
Magic is it's a battle of information. It really is. I mean, you could always choose not to reveal your Gigant for game 1 if you wanted to think about that.
Well, I did that in 1 game by accident, but sure.
So wear and tear, artifact, enchantment removal, really good against Tron, etc.
So wear and tear is my 13th, 14th sideboard card. Like I didn't know what I wanted to play. I had 2 slots, and I felt like this, it can hit what I need it to hit at times. I thought there were going to be more chalices floating around than there were. Didn't see any chalices. Saw a few Trinispheres. This can answer Trinispheres. It can answer Sagas.
Mate, I like this card. This card's great. Like it answers a lot of stuff in Tron, especially if you're playing Blood Moons and they're playing I forget the name of the card where you can tap it for green and red. The artifact, you can kill that. Take them off the mana.
Talismans.
Take them off the mana. It's probably good against maybe in some storm matchups where they want to go off on Ruby, for example, or even I
brought it in against Storm quite a lot.
Urza Saga is still a card. You know what I mean? I'm not sure.
Well, it's in Nadu, right? It's good against Nadu because you can get rid of the Shukus and the.
And what people might not realize with Saga as well, that when it enters the battlefield, there's a trigger on the stack, so you can actually respond to that trigger, kill the Saga before they can be able to get the mana. So if turn 3 they're going to play Nadu, they turn 3 play the Saga, for example. There's a trigger on the stack, you can respond to destroy it before they get the mana. So it's a little trick. So yeah, wear and tear is really good. Celestial Purge, there's a lot of Psychic Frogs knocking around.
Psychic Frogs, Atraxas, Gristlebrands, and Flagers.
Yeah. Answers them. Exiles black or red permanent. And the fact it's a permanent as well. You know what's interesting about this card too? If you're against a Leyline of the Guild Pack deck, you can exile their lands with it.
Yeah.
Because everything's colours. Agatha's Soul Cauldron. This is spicy.
So yeah, this is what I got a lot of people were asking me about was the Soul Cauldron thing. Obviously, I've got two Surgicals and a Soul Cauldron, right? Basically, I was fully aware that the Goyu's deck was there's going to be a few players on it.
Yeah.
And two, it's a really hard matchup if they just have a way of getting a Trax out and Ephemerate in it, right? Like this deck does not beat that card.
No.
Straight up, just loses to it. So I wanted a third card to deal with it. It was going to be a Surgical, it was going to be a Lantern, etc., etc. What I swapped to Agatha's Soul Cauldron for is because also in the mirror, like Flage is the deal breaker when you play the mirror, right? Like who can get the Flage out of the graveyard first? And with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, it gives me game. Like I can just exile creatures and put +1/+1 counters on my creatures.
Yeah.
So in the mirror, this card's going to be even better than just a straight up, Surgical or Soul Guideline, etc. This is going to be able to pump my creatures bigger than my opponent's creatures, while also exiling a Flage from the graveyard, which is what I'm kind of worried about in the mirror. It's good against any graveyard synergy deck because I can take it out. It's good against Storm. I can start eating away at their graveyard as well. I even bring this in against Jeskai control because I don't want that Flage coming out of the graveyard. If I can deal with the Flages, it's really hard for them to win the game. Saying all this, after playing that weekend and not playing any mirrors and playing against Jeskai control, playing against Storm twice, playing against Goyos twice, I wish this was just a third Surgical. Yeah. I think it cost me a game against the Jeskai deck because it was an Agatha's Cauldron.
I was thinking like maybe this was my third Surgical, and I was actually thinking as well, as it's using it as pure graveyard hate, maybe it's better if it's an unlicensed hearse. But the fact that you can pump your creatures in the mirror is pretty spicy. I quite like that. I've not seen Agatha's Soul Cauldron in people's sideboards for this deck yet. This is the first time, that's why I'm quite surprised by it. But your logic, because I always think, make card choices on logic and reasoning, and if your logic and reasoning is there, I like it.
Like if you expect a lot of mirrors, like energy mirrors, if it's Mardu or Boros, like this card I think is great because Orcish Bowmaster, sure, I can make my one toughness creature that I would usually sideboard out. I can pump it now, and I can use your graveyard to do that.
Yeah,
I can. I don't think you can gain any crazy abilities out of exiling things in the mirror.
I was about to ask, is there any does it enable any combos in your deck or anything like that, or any?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's probably one we're missing somewhere, but realistically, just getting a +1/+1 counter while exiling something from the graveyard is good enough.
I mean, you're talking to two solid boot next year. I don't do combo.
Well, like the only thing that might do is maybe, I don't know if because it's got to be an activated ability, right? So maybe you gain the Guide of Souls ability when you attack. Is that a trigger? It's probably a trigger, right? You don't
that's a trigger, yeah. That's a trigger, not an activated.
You're not going to get Osset's Prize, you're not going to get Ragavan, you're not going to get... there isn't anything that you gain. No. It's purely 2-mana exile a card from a graveyard. If it's a creature, you put +++ counter on the card. Like that's it. That was good enough. Will I play it back again? Probably not. I've been liking Hearst quite a lot online, just as an extra threat, especially in like the removal heavy matchups, because they're going to be killing everything that works. Well, the Hearst, like the other day, I had an 18-power Hearst and just played my Ajani. They killed the Ajani, the token just crewed the Hearst and killed them with it. It was like sick. Like it's I think I'd play at least one Hearst, 2 Surgical. Surgical I think is just too important in a deck where I'm very mana greedy the first couple of turns. I want to tap out turn 1, turn 2, turn 3.
Yeah. So
have a 0 mana way of exiling one of their key threats. And I'd bring this in against Nardu because you don't know if Nardu's the Oracle version or the infinite bounce version. And if the infinite bounce version, you can take the key pieces out of these.
I don't think you don't really see the Oracle version in paper that much because you can verbalize the loop and it's a lot easier to accomplish than you can online. I think Oracle came in online specifically because of the click intensive nature of the deck. I think that's so. I quite like bringing that sort of graveyard interaction against. I mean, I play Surgical, and I think I bring Surgical in against Nadu because I'm heavy removal deck, heavy counterspell deck. So if I think I can remove the one card that makes them win the game, through Surgical, I like that plan. Like I'm not really like, I'm not a fan of the logic of. I always say this like. Against, I always do the example of bringing in Surgical against Death and Taxes to remove Swords to Plowshare. Like it's like, do you really want to do that? But it's a game plan.
I would bring these in against Jeskai. 1 for Flage and 2 for Wrath of the Skies.
Yeah,
that card single-handedly hoses the whole deck.
Yeah, like Surgical, like their main win con is Flage, so you get rid of that. Then they're just on this Solitude package or whatever that's as their win con, and you're like
subtleties normally. Like, I think they play like 3 subtleties, 1 Solitude or something in the main.
And then I mean, what are they for you as a threat wise? You know what I mean? You can potentially beat that, and if they get rid of the Premier board wipe as well. I know a lot of sort of Esper decks have been diversifying their removal package to include, if you can play black, then Deluge, because you know you bring in Sun Cleansers against the Wrath of Sky. So if you play a Deluge, for example, you can get over that or defeat that. But
so one of the lads that I went with, one of the lads in my, from down my way, Ben, shout out to Ben. Originally he was going to play this deck, and I was going to play. I did originally was going to play Jeskai, but then I was like, well, only one of us can play an NG Mirror because I had to lend him the cards. So the other deck was going to be Goyos. And like I just basically had like fuck all sleep that night, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna play. I'll play the Boros deck because it's gonna be easier to play. You play the Goyos deck. He also ended up top 8ing, which was sick. But in that deck, in the build that I put together, I was playing Dams in the sideboard.
Okay.
So 2 mana it's a removal spell, 4 mana it's a Wrath.
Yeah.
And that kind of works out the same as. And plus people, you got the surprise factor. People aren't going to really think of it too much at the Goyos deck, but just having a way that's not Toxic Deluge, which doesn't eat my mana too much, my life total. It's a straight up removal spell if I need to. It's a Wrath spell if I need it. It's he said he really really liked it because I was like, well, did you not play the Wrath of the Skies? He went, no, I just played the 2 Dams. I was like, oh shit. And he's like, yeah, really. I think the card's great. Like it did everything I wanted it to, but in multiple matchups. Where I wouldn't play one or the other. When I need my 1-for-1 removal, that's I brought it in for that. When I need a Wrath, I brought it in for that. When I need both sides of it, the card was one of my best ones.
Saying damn, what's this card called?
So it's literally called Dam, DAMN, I think. It's double black, destroy type creature, for double black, double.
I don't think I've seen this card.
Double white. Have you not? It's MH2, I think. Yeah, that one there. So
that's a foreign language.
I say, if you try clicking on an English copy, that'd be great.
Destroy target creature, a creature through this way can be generated. Overload to. Mate,
it's sorcery speed, but it's a 2 mana removal, 4 mana Wrath spell. Like that's what it says on the tin. If you've got white and black mana in your deck, it's a pretty cool option to have.
That's a really cool option.
Yeah, he said the card was great all weekend, so I imagine he's going to probably run that back next time.
Fair one. So. I'm pretty content with your deck tech on this. I have been pestering you for a sideboard guide, so I'm going to try and pester you for a sideboard guide because a lot of our viewers like to you do the hard work for them and they click on, oh, Will's done really well this deck. What was the sideboard strategy? I know you're.
If you want a sideboard guide to this deck, go subscribe to Young Dingo. He's won 5 challenges back to back with Boros Energy. That's like literally this week. So you could use my guide, but realistically, Young Dingo plays this a lot more than me. He's an awesome guy. He's a full-time content creator. Support your content creators.
Fair one.
Shout out Dingo.
So I'm happy with that. Have you got anything else you want to add to this deck? Any tips and tricks or anything like that? I mean, we spoke about a lot of.
Moving forward, I think I'd have Goblin Bombardments. I'd go up on Goblin Bombardments, maybe down on Fables a little bit. Bone Crusher Giants, I'd move out. There's an argument that Ragavan's not playable in this deck anymore. I think it's a meta-dependent thing. If you know there's going to be loads of Nadu, take him out, hit him more lightning bolts. If it's going to be an open field, I think Ragavan's still just a great one-drop. And
you've got to answer it right. If it's on the play, it's amazing. And it's also a really easy card to sideboard out if you're against Yawgmoth or whatever. It's one of those cards like, yep, free sideboard. Because I quite like polarized cards in that way, particularly when because it's always easy to bring in, and then the real challenge of sideboarding is what to bring out. So I like.
Weirdly, once I'm sure we're about to go talk about bans now, but once the bans happen, if Nardu goes and Yawgmoth's now play, if this is still the best deck, that means Yawgmoth comes back to be and Yawgmoth destroys this deck. Like it, I suppose maybe like a turn 2 Bloodmoon, just turn 2 Bloodmoon, but like when I was in Amsterdam, I was playing Yawgmoth, and I played against Boros Energy like 4 or 5 times and just destroyed it every time. Like it was an absolute buy. Weirdly, Young Wolf and Yawgmoth are really good against these 1 toughness creature decks. Who would have thought?
Yeah. I quite like look at the Yawgmoth deck. It's almost like a watered down pod deck now. Yeah. It's sick.
Pod. Oh.
I'm trying to stop streaming this thing, but it's not letting me.
Saying that we've got Birthing Ritual now, which is isn't as powerful as Pod, but that card is amazing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Birthing Ritual. Yeah, it's.
I was playing 4 copies of it in Amsterdam, and the fact that you get to look at the 7 and then decide if you want to sacrifice a creature. So good, so good. I you know me. Realistically, I'm a Yawgmoth fanboy. Like that's my deck. I love that deck a lot. So yeah, I'd play that if I could.
So you really like look at Yawgmoth. Let's talk about before we go on like what sort of decks we're going to be wanting to play post ban. Let's do a bit of speculation here because the sort of bans we're expecting, and then there's bans that we would like to happen. I mean, I'm more interested in like what bans you would like to see. But for starters, let's talk about Pioneer. I know we talked about Modern predominantly today, but let's talk about Pioneer. Are you expecting any changes in Pioneer? Personally, I think Amalia, Vampires, and Phoenix it's pretty much a three deck format right now from what I've seen. I think a reasonable ban from those 3 decks is probably. I'm not sure if it's likely, but I think Amalia definitely needs answering.
I think I'd throw Mono Green in that mix as well. By the way, I think Mono Green's still a really good deck. It's adapted quite well after the last ban of Khan. But I do think Amalia is. I think it's going to go. I think that's like almost like a hard lock for that format to ban that card. It just doesn't make for a great playing experience, a viewing experience. The fact that you can get draws, which is just not good. Obviously, you go back to the Pro Tour with Chris and Simon, where they ended up playing seven games in there.
Yeah,
it was pretty crazy. So I really feel like no cards are going to go besides Amalia. People have said about Treasure Cruise and stuff like this.
I like a Wildcrow Walker ban. Like have Amalia in the format, maybe give people something to aim towards. But
there's probably other ways to trigger it, right? It's like just get rid of the source. Like they don't tiptoe around it. Just get rid of the source and then just be done with it. Like rip the band-aid off and get done. I don't think there's too much else in that format. I think the Vampires deck was just a really good meta game call by Channel Fireball. Like I think they just brewed a deck and it worked and it was great in the meta that they predicted.
It's still putting up numbers. I think.
Take it down.
I think it's still putting up numbers. I think Splinter Twin in that format is probably a bit.
Well, Vein Rip is really good, right? It's just a really really good card, and if you can cheat it out turn 3, you're gonna win the game 9 out of 10 times because it's a modern less format that's not got the best removal in it. It's not got the best counter spells, yada yada. So everyone's kind of needs to do what they need to do with it.
Yeah.
But I think Amalia is the one deck I would hose by getting rid of Amalia. Just get rid of the deck completely. I wouldn't, and this is going to be controversial, I wouldn't mind a Lotus Field ban either. Like,
so that deck is for me, it's like really egregious, really boring. It's really like uninteresting unless you're playing it. But there is answers to it, like hard locks that deck.
I don't like the fact that my opponent can take a 10-minute turn.
Yeah.
And I've just got to sit there and watch them. And I'm just like, that's not fun, interactive Magic.
No.
It's, it's just like, oh, cool, you're going to do your thing. Like, and everyone say you can scoop it anytime you want. Yeah, cool. But like, what, 5% of the games where people go for it, they don't actually go for it. Or maybe they just pick the deck up, don't know the combo, etc.
A good player will always play to routes. And if your route is you could fail at your combo, or you could not hit your win con, for example, or your combo just fizzles, then you've got to take that out, haven't you? Because especially if it's like a high stakes tournament, if you're winning into a top 8 of an RCQ, or winning into a big modern event, for example, or whatever, you're going to take those that 5%, and that might make it an uninteresting viewer experience. It may make it an interesting play experience, and I do agree with you that those sort of heuristics shouldn't really exist.
For us, for the RC, right, for the regional championships, obviously I was doing commentary on it, we would not put on a Lotus deck on camera. Like, we just straight up knew that, chat will turn, nobody wants to see it, it's boring. We literally purposely avoided putting that deck on camera.
That's
the
interesting.
flip side of it is, though, all the best players in the room were playing that deck. Like, obviously Sean, Sean, I put him really high on some of the best players in the world currently. He's absolutely on a tear.
Yeah.
He loves that deck, and watching him pilot that deck is masterful. But if I was against it, I'd just be like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. But I think that's like a side inclusion. If I was going to ban a card, I think maybe Lotus Field would go, just to get that deck out of there, and then give us more of a creature format, which I kind of like.
Shout out to Joey from a local play group. He loves that deck, and he'd hate that to see that go. But yeah, it's so Pioneer, that's what we would expect to see. That's what we'd like to see. Modern, pretty obvious. Nadu has to go, right? It has to go.
Has to go. Like, the fact that, so I run tournaments online with Anu. We've got a show that we do online, and I think for the past 2 months, every single thing we've done, we have banned Nadu in it. We've also mixed it up. We're like here, Necron Dominance is banned and Ruby Storm is banned, but like the one stipulation that goes every week to week is Nadu is banned. Same as kind of Lotus Field. It's so boring to watch. It's so good, and the problem with Nadu is it's so easy to do the combo. Yeah. And if I go to kill your Nadu, I might just trigger the combo going off by trying to kill the Nadu. Like, the deck and the card. It's so crazy. I think it should have had an emergency ban at this point. Like, I don't understand Wizards' logic with why would you put a ban midway through a format of an RC?
Oh,
like,
mate.
if you know your RC dates, okay, from the I think it's the 2nd of August onwards is now modern RCQ season. Guess what? The Monday before the Saturday where it all kicks off, that's when we're going to do the ban announcement. Yeah. And people are always going to get upset about things, right? People will go, oh, well, I was looking forward to the season. I just bought into this deck and you just banned this card. Okay, let's do it a month before, let's say. A month before the season starts, so everyone's got a chance to not buy into a deck, not sell the cards, rebuy a new deck, practice whatever they need to do, okay? I think that universally across Magic, everyone would be happy with that. Very rarely would an emergency ban have everybody on side. And at the minute, even TOs around Europe, I can't speak for America, but I think it's also happening there, but TOs in Europe are purposely cancelling their RCQ events and moving them to a later date till after the ban announcement. Yeah, because players said they will not show up while Nadu is legal in the format.
Do you know what? I'm not going to stress about this too much because we actually me and Luce did a podcast episode on this. And
watch it.
Not last one, the one before. It's called "The Battle Chads Go to War," and we just have a massive rant on Wizards' decisions around the BNR. The fact that there's people who are the community's kicking back on the fact that they're making decisions that affect them, affect their experiences. I do not think that their logic of keeping a set BNR date is adding to an experience when there is such a massive problem. I mean, we'll talk about Legacy in a second, but the three major formats, you've got Legacy, Pioneer, Modern, they are all in a really awkward position right now. People are at the point where you've got formats like Pauper kicking off. I mean, I think it's a good thing a format's kicking off, but Pauper's kicking off because it's player ran. They've got a format panel that's making really good decisions. People are choosing to play Commander. People are choosing to play other games, mate. People, Lorcana is
I'm playing Lorcana now.
You know I
get more fun from playing Lorcana than I do than Magic at the minute.
So there's other games, card games, who are using Magic's and Wizards' decisions as a litmus test to be like, what do players want? Players want a healthy metagame, and they want GPs. That's what, and Lorcana's come in. Let's give them GPs and let's give them a balanced metagame.
I don't know what. Look, I don't sit in the ivory tower of Wizards of the Coast, nor do I ever want to sit in the ivory tower of Wizards of the Coast, because the internet is a very fickle thing, and you're never going to please the mob no matter what you do, right?
No.
Okay, you're going to do good things. Majority of things are going to be bad things. The internet, everybody has a voice, is what it is. There's no repercussions for saying whatever you want to say on the internet. This, I think they know it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think going up the chain, like from everybody, the people that hear it and they go to the mid-level, I think they all hear it. And I think they are probably all on side. I think when it gets to the people that make these decisions at the very tip top, there's probably so much paperwork that needs to be involved. So many people need to get things signed off to get an emergency ban. It's not worth that much man hours in the business, in the company to do it. They might as well just wait. It's all in place for this date. Just suck it up, sweetheart. You're gonna have to wait till that date. And I think that's where they're going with it. I think they are a company. We're all fully aware now of Hasbro. Your player experience means nothing to them really. More does mine. It's how many zeros go in that bank account at the end of every quarter. And if it costs them more money to make an emergency ban, they're not going to do it. That's my opinion.
So we talk. I mean, go see our previous podcast as mentioned, because this is all regurgitating what we said. But I genuinely believe there is, as you rightly said, there is someone in the top echelons of Wizards of the Coast who are like, nah, not happening. Like, for whatever reason, whatever bureaucratic, capitalistic, whatever reason it is, this is not happening. I mean, things like, I would like to really see a One Ring ban. I think One Ring creates really poor play patterns. It can fit in. It's too easy to include in lots of decks. I mean, you said before you could fit into Boros aggro deck.
Yeah.
I think it's a really bad card to have in a format. I just think it's too free. I think it creates horrible play patterns. Boring.
But if you get rid of it, there's all control decks go if that card goes though. But it'll be an aggro mid-range. It'll just turn to a mid-range format. Mid-range, because mid-range can beat combo. They can beat creature aggro. The one thing that they struggle with is control. When you take the ring out, there is no control. What control deck could survive without ring right now? There just isn't one. The format's adapted way too much.
I do like some of the sideboard cards that have been brought in, like Consigned to Memory, for example, is a really good card. Answers the One Ring, but I would like to see One Ring go. But my point I was going to move on to is that you've got this added now of IPs in there. So you've got Lord of the Rings is shared their IP with Wizards of the Coast to print the Lord of the Rings set, obviously, and pretty much there's only 2 playable, maybe 3 playable cards in that set, and One Ring is heavily played.
What? There's loads of cards in that set.
Your Orcish Bowmasters, One Ring.
That's probably the main 2, right?
Samwise combo sometimes.
Nah, Samwise, get out of here. That's not a thing. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. In fact, while you talk and say more words, I'm going to find all of them cards, because I don't think that's true. I've got to find them. No, go on, keep talking, keep saying words out loud while
I'm just really interested what cards you're going to think of. I mean, I know Troll of Khazad-dûm, the cycle stuff. That's pretty good. But you don't really see them in Modern Beyond Living End. I don't think. But yeah, it's
you see loins revealed a little bit, right? So like, but it's the same sketch as you were talking about.
Yeah. But it's one of them. I do think at the higher echelons of Wizards, there's this IP battle, and there's this top of the big hand, small maps kind of decisions that are trickling down to the players, and the players can't see the logic behind it because they're just not pushing comms out. Why?
Well, the thing is, in this situation, right, they can't make an announcement. Like, you saw the announcement.
Yeah.
I mind Wizards at the minute have not, and shout out to Blake. Like, he took all the slack for when he did the announcement, saying that they're not going to push it.
Yeah.
But so he's also getting that hate. Back when they announced Modern Horizons 3, the Modern set, by the way, like the Modern Horizons set, it's in the name. These cards are for Modern. Yet half the cards you open in a box are not legal in Modern. There's EDH decks that don't have that whole set was such a cluster of 1, warping a format, but 2, stealing money, basically.
Yep.
And even to the point, Blake said on the live broadcast, Commander Horizons. Like, it's basically what it was. It was like I actually had a really a big tweet, it wasn't a viral tweet, but it had a lot of interaction on it because I opened 2 collector's boxes,
Yeah.
and I had something like 36 non-modern legal.
I saw
rares,
that. I saw that post.
and I was like, "Oh, great! I really want to play my favorite format that I bought in. I bought this product to play, and I've got 36 cards that I don't play the format in. Like, it doesn't make sense."
It's a genuine point though, because you are a modern player. You buy a product that's aimed at you. That this is aimed at me, and you open a lot of the cards that you can't even play with. Like that's money you've spent. You've spent your
I spent my money to buy
cash
the
to buy.
I am a competitive player like everyone else, right? And this is what every competitor will buy the cards you need, don't buy sealed product. Yeah, but that was a modern only product. I always open modern legal sets, like Lord of the Rings. I open Modern Horizons.
Yeah, mate, I bought a collector booster box of Lord of the Rings, a regular box of Lord of the Rings, and I bought 2 boxes of Modern Horizons because I'm the same as you. I love modern. Like modern's a format I engage with the most. I was a Legacy. I love Legacy. Legacy is my OG format, but we'll talk about Legacy in a minute because that is a show. But I am the same. Like I'm spending all this money. I'm spending the best part of sometimes 4 figures on this product, on this sealed product, and I'm opening stuff for casual play. Like,
yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I enjoy opening boosters like the next person. But that's only if there's something on the line. Like, I could open a Ragavan or whatever in this. Even fetches now have lost their value. The oh my god value. Like, you open a fetch and it's basically like £6 now. Like, damn it. But yeah, I like it's interesting. But like going to the IP side of things, that I thought was a stinger. This stinger. Now the ban announcements. I think should come sooner. There's a few cards in Modern that people always want to see banned. Obviously, I think the 3 that are on the radars. Nadu, I think, is a hard lock.
Yeah.
One ring is probably in the discussion. I don't think they'll do it.
I would love it to go. I don't like it. I like control players. Cry me a river. I don't care. Like, that card is egregious.
There's going to be another Lord of the Rings set, I think, coming out maybe 2025, and they're not going to ban the IP card of the whole set, the most playable card of the set. The whole campaign marketing was about the one ring. Obviously, Posty now owes. I would be so surprised if that card was to ever leave the format.
I would like to see an errata of that card where you could only play one, because I think that card would still be very playable in control decks. Would still be very playable in most decks. However, you can't just be like, tap it, draw a card, tap it. Yeah, I'm losing 6. All right, I'll just play another one. Like that heuristic, like that play
that interaction sucks. Yeah,
that sucks. Also, my friend Steven, another shout out locally, Steven, he plays a deck where he plays 6. So what he does is he just fogs the opponent out by just discarding a land, playing the 1 ring from his graveyard, and he's got a 6 out and a 1 ring in the graveyard and 1 ring on the battlefield. He can just loop that fog effect, which is like disgusting.
With the new green land that target, as long as you're at delirium.
No. So he has 6. Not Renaissance.
Oh, actual
just 6. Yeah,
so
so
play it from the graveyard.
So you attack, you mill 3 or whatever, but you discard a land card that has Well, whatever that
okay, I like it.
And I'm like,
I can see
that's quite cool, and you can sort of interact with that by with graveyard hate, etc. But the fact that as a control deck you can just, or any sort of Necrodominance, all these sort of decks, you can just slam it and just eventually draw your next one and fog them again and then reset the thing. I just don't like that. I think it's a really poorly designed card in that effect. If it was a one of in your deck, you can only play 1 in your 75 or 1 in your main deck, and then you can Karn Wishboard it. I don't mind Karn Wishboard and stuff because there's another step you got to take that you can interact with. I would like to see that. That would appease me.
Well, they did errata it online, didn't they? You have to pay 1 and tap it.
Right. Okay.
I think that's in Historic or so, one of those formats on Arena that no one plays. But like they did errata it. It doesn't see as much play on that. Would that have been worked if they just printed it that way? I don't know. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think there's any other card in Modern that needs to go yet. I think we'll see. I think Nada's just warped the format so much that no one.
I think like, post Nadu ban, I think energy might be a little bit too much, and I think potentially Necrodominance as well. But I don't know.
If energy is good. If energy goes really good, Yawgmoth becomes really good because Yawgmoth's got a great energy matchup.
Yeah. Shout out Tom.
If Yawgmoth's really good. Titan becomes really good. And like, I don't know if you caught this week's MTG Masters. Shout out to me and Anoop in that bad boy. But we had no Nardu Modern and Canister with on Titan was a phenomenal performance. Like,
Yeah.
It didn't even look because of some of the new cards that are printed. He was playing a newer version.
Oh, is it that one where you bring all your lands back from your graveyard? Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty sick.
And just looping and looping and looping and then using. He's like, I can blow up all your permanents with all your lands with my Boseiju here, or I can Keswick Wolf Run for basically infinite. And I was like, oh my goodness. And Canis is a genius anyway. So like I've always said it, and this has always been my controversial thing when people go, what should ban? I always say Summoner's Pact needs a ban. I think that card makes one Titan way too consistent, even though Saga kind of does that now. But like, I think that card just enables degenerate decks. We're seeing it in Nardu.
Yep.
You mean Nardu's playing?
I would add a problematic card to that as Quarter Calling as well. Quarter Calling is a problematic card.
I don't think Quarter Calling is a problematic card because it requires setup, right? Like I have to have a board, I have to have a lot of mana. So for Summoner's Pact, I can just go get the creature I need, put it on the battlefield, and win that turn. I don't care about the downside of it, of paying the extra mana. I think Chord's good, balanced. It's a terrible card when I don't have creatures in play. Great card when I need to toolbox. So that's why it's really good in like Yawgmoth. And obviously, Yawgmoth, Nardu kind of play the same. Lots of like mana dorks into your combo finish. Just Nardu triggers off every single thing and doesn't cost any life for it. Hence why that's the better version.
Yeah, I think Nardu's it's like when because I really like playing Greasefang in Pioneer. I think when a deck like Vampires, it's not a deck like Amalia exists. Sorry, there's no point playing Greasefang because the game plan that Amalia's doing is basically Greasefang but better and more consistent. I mean, I'm Greasefang diehard. I will play it till like that is my Pioneer deck, and it's the same for Yawgmoth in Modern. Like Yawgmoth, what Yawgmoth wants to do, Nardu just does it on steroids.
I love it.
There's no point playing Yawgmoth when that exists.
We again shout out to our show MTG Masters every Wednesday, 1 o'clock PST. Catch it on YouTube.
Delicious.
We had no ban list Modern. We were like, bring anything you want. Nardu won. Like
even over Hogak and
we had like all these disgusting broken decks. We had like Upsal spells with a no ban list with Upsal spells. It was just like win. You know what I mean? It was really, really cool, really, really powerful to see. But yeah, Nardu took it down, and it's just like this damn bird is so powerful,
disgusting. So,
like, but yeah.
So
I think realistically, you're just going to see one ban. I don't think they're going to ban more.
I suspect that. What I like the idea of as well is like they give a watch list out, and then it gives then empowerment to players to be like, right, these are on the watch list. There's going to be emergency bans every Monday if they need it. If you decide to buy into a watch list card, you've been told this is your information, then put it on the player, and then I like that. I like that sort of way of thinking.
Yeah.
I think they did do that or start to do that where they in their BNRs we're looking at this card, we're looking at that card, and if you use that information, you're informed and you make an informed decision on your purchases. I think that is a good way to do it. Being very strict on your BNR dates, particularly the dates they've chosen, 2-3 weeks, whatever it is, into an RCQ season is very poor.
Same. But that's what I think is happening in Modern. I think Nardu's going to go. Nothing else is going to go. I'm pretty sure something else needs to be banned in Modern for Modern Horizons 3. I just don't know what that is yet because the meta isn't letting us find out what that is.
Yeah,
there's so many good broken cards. How the meta evolves, I don't know. Maybe it's Ossus Pride. Maybe it's Soul Guy. I don't know, but I think we will still be having a ban discussion in 2 months' time. I just think now Nardu is the big one.
What I like the idea of as well. I know this is proper speculation, but if they just all the things that are on the ban list right now that weren't banned in say the past 5-6 years, unbanned it all, and then did what they did with the Pioneer. Every week they ban a card or make a BNR. And then sort of because I'm pretty sure there's stuff on the BN.
There's some crazy cards on that ban list that shouldn't be on there.
Oh, do you know what I mean? Like Oh, there's my lad. I think he's coming up to say good night. So I apologise if he's coming, but it's a
right.
bit late for him to be fair.
Yeah.
But it
Houseman.
wouldn't be the first time he's made an appearance on the podcast. So yeah, I'd like to see some other stuff go. Should we chat about Legacy for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to tell you exactly what you're going to say in Legacy. You want to see Grief Band and you want to see Psychic Frog Band because that's all I ever see on Twitter.
I don't want to see Psychic Frog Band because I love that card. I've got a genuine fetish for amphibians now because of that card. That card is like, when I first saw that card being spoiled, I was like, this is everything I want to be doing in Magic. Psychic Frog is everything I want to be doing in Magic.
The card's really, really sick. Shout out to Carmen who designed that card. I think it's really good, but that card it's answerable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're playing Legacy. This is a powerful format.
I mean,
that card's answerable. Grief is, I think, genuinely, even though I play Grief, I don't want to see it get banned because I own that card and I want to play in Legacy. I think that makes her too consistent type of starts.
Yeah.
In Legacy, there's a lot of key cards in Legacy in different decks that if you just strip it out their hand, they're like, ugh, they got to kind of rebuild. And because it's black, you can't play that in the same deck that plays Orcish Bowmaster, which then punishes everybody that's trying to play brainstorms and things like this. So I think it's going to be interesting.
Say hello,
and
Will.
Here he is, there.
Say hello, Will.
Oh my god, like Mr. Beak.
Mr. Beak. That's his parrot, by the way, Mr. Beak. Say hello, Will.
Oh,
Say hello, Will. Oh, he's being a... What are you being?
It's being a dinosaur? A dinosaur?
Are you being a dinosaur?
No.
Or Grief?
I got greed, but it's Mr. Beak.
Mr. Beak. Okay, Mr. Beak's his parrot he's been obsessed with recently. Are you going to say hello to Will?
Sure.
You going to say hello to Will?
You can say hello to me? No.
Say hello,
He sounds
Will.
like... Hello.
I've no idea I've no idea what he's trying to be. Right, go on. Go downstairs. Go see Mummy. Good kid cracks me up. So apologies about that, but I'm not cutting that from the podcast because I love my son and I think he's great.
You do you. It's great that you can reproduce. That one time you got laid, you're actually happy to reproduce. So shout out.
Well, I presume he's mine anyway.
Shout out Ellie.
Shout out Ellie. So Legacy, grief is one of those things has to go. I do think that if Grief, the problem is with Frog is the argument is that they've printed a card that just fits into the best tempo deck at the moment, and a Grief ban is not going to be enough because hey-ho, blue-black is still going to be amazing. The reanimate sort of stuff with Troll, Khazad-dûm, etc. is still going to be amazing. You're just replacing Grief with Thoughtseize, going back to the old sort of reanimator style strategies. But
so I'm not the biggest Legacy player in the world, right? But I do keep an eye on it. I knew one of the partner is a huge Legacy player, huge control player. He's doing really well in Legacy at the minute because he's brewed, he's designed his deck, he's tried different cards that are good in the meta, and he's done really well. I think he lost in the finals of the Legacy Showcase the other day or something. He's on an absolute tear of it. And he's always doing really well with Legacy because he doesn't follow the mold. I don't know if and I said to you before we went live, I went, well, this month everyone wants Psychic Frog. Last month it was Grief. The month before that it was Orcish Bowmaster. It seems to be there's always a card that people want banned.
Before that was Initiative, and then so on.
Yeah, I feel like Legacy, especially in general, the format's so vast. There's got to be answers to it. You've got things like Force of Will in there, but then if you're forcing people to play blue decks with Force of Will, is that a good format?
I think the problem with Grief though, it just strips you of those answers for next to no cost, and I think that's the problem with Grief. And I think the Bowmaster, the Psychic Frog sort of mirrors that they're looking at online and they're thinking, right, what's the next problem? And I think the last Legacy Showcase Challenge or wherever it was, I think 26 out of the 28 decks, whoever it was all had Psychic Frog in them, and it's with Grief still in the meta and stuff. There's going to be an attraction to the sort of best sort of tempo deck, and that best sort of tempo deck, Psychic Frog just fits into it. I mean, Orcish Bowmasters now, some decks aren't even playing it. You know what I mean? And that was a problem however many months ago, as you said, before Grief. Psychic Frog could be killed, right? There's lots of answers for Psychic Frog, and if you're dumping your hand to save Psychic Frog, and then they just get fatal pushed, that's a big ouch, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I'm not a real big betting man, but if I was a betting man and for an outside kind of hedge about betting and what's going to get banned, I would not be surprised if nothing in Legacy gets banned, because Legacy's not a format to Wizards. They don't care. There's no tournaments. You cannot qualify for any tournament anymore by playing Legacy unless it's online.
Well, they've got Eternal Weekend now. That's a massive thing, Grant.
That's not Wizards' event. They just announce it, right? There's one of them in three different regions around the world. Yeah. Here's an event. They sublease it to another company to run. They don't have to have coverage. It's on the company to do it. You don't even get the picture anymore that Wizards used to put up of original art.
No,
that's gone. Yeah. Like you get a special card that they print for it that's got the date of the event on. Eternal Masters Legacy 2024 something on it. Like it's the amount of effort they put into Legacy is minimal. Unfortunately, I think I love Legacy. I just think that the model that they seem to be pushing towards is Standard they want that to be their baby, because that makes them the most money.
I mean, the Standard should be supported. It should be the entry format. Should be.
Do you know the single best way to make Standard playable?
Go on.
Get rid of Arena.
Yeah.
Like that's the correlation. Arena came along, Standard's now not playable.
Yeah.
COVID didn't help, but COVID, if anything, hit the last nail in the coffin, right? Like everyone moved to online. Now they're like, well, why would I move away from this online?
And Commander.
Yeah. So Pioneer, they want Pioneer to be the new Modern. That's kind of going to be their middle format. It's a bit more powerful than Standard. And then Modern is going to be their new Legacy. There just isn't a Legacy event.
It's really hard to push cards into Legacy, right? Without it ruining people's sort of financial input into the format. Yeah. Like it's a really weird format. The reserve list is really what's holding the
mate,
format.
you're never getting rid of that.
Nah, it's not worth it. But it's just a real shame, because the format has potential. I mean, even now, the format now the way it is, people are still having fun with that format, and I do think I could imagine the only thing going is grief, because of the diehard Legacy community are so loud about it right now.
That's what I think. I think because Twitter's so loud about it. Yeah. I think if I'm putting money on what I think is going to win, I think grief is getting banned. If you said, right, you've got $5, you've got to put an outside bet on that's not going with the flow, it'd probably be on nothing gets banned in Legacy. I could see that happening. I don't know if it's the format, or I just don't think Wizards want the PR of it. I think that no matter how it goes, there'll be waves on the internet of people moaning.
What's your thoughts on like the format panels? Like the Pauper one, for example. I think the Pauper format panel is doing a great job, by the way. So shout out to them.
The Pauper panel, I've said this for the last couple of months now since I started learning Pauper. I think it's the most balanced format that we have in Magic. And I think that's a large contribution to that panel.
Yeah.
And at Paupergeddon, we had 3 members of that panel. There's only 7 on the panel. And we were able to get 3 of them in one place at one time. They all do awesome work. They all talk a lot. Pretty much like every other day they're talking. They have a continuous chat. You know what I mean? Because they're all around the world. So, some people are sleeping, some people are talking. Yeah. They go to bed, they wake up, they add their input. It's really, really good what they do. The linchpin that makes Pauper different to all the others is Gavin Verhey.
Yeah.
Gavin Verhey is a huge name in Magic. He's a huge name at Wizards. He's a huge Pauper enthusiast and just a fucking amazing guy.
Yeah.
Like, he is awesome. Put those things together, you can't really replicate that. There is no more Gavin Verheys to put into other formats. I know, like, obviously Modern, they get testers. They had like Spike go in and BBD and Brad Nelson.
They missed stuff though. They still missed stuff. I mean, they missed Urza Saga, for example. A lot of people said when Urza Saga,
Ragavan,
like they said, there's a design mistake. We didn't pick it up at the time. I mean,
it's only 7 people in a form like Pioneer. One, it's got the enthusiastic people behind it, and they're not scared to just throw a ban out when the ban is really, and they continues talking about it. I don't know, and I'm quite in the know with things. I'm not aware of a Modern panel, a Legacy panel. There might be some internally in Wizards, but they're not publicized as much, or they're not as vocal as they probably should be to the community, saying, look, we're listening to you. We're hearing what you're saying. We've got eyes on this. Don't just wait to the once every blue moon announcement that comes out. Actually having them talking with the players. This is what social media reps are meant to be doing. Unfortunately, Wizards social media reps are far and few between, and even when they you find one. I'm not saying that they're even the best at doing that job, but that's a different conversation. But it's, you know, I mean, they should be talking and asking the right people at Wizards the right questions to then pass to everyone, so it calms us all down. Because at the minute, I'm sure there's been some more darker points I'm trying to think of, but like right now, I think everyone's faith in Wizards is quite low.
Yeah.
But yet the numbers are quite high. So imagine what it would be like if the opinion on Wizards is really high. The money's going to come even more.
Yeah,
It I don't ever want that job. I'm just throwing it out there. Like that is a nightmare job, but it's interesting. It's not just a straight up, oh, they don't know what they're doing. They definitely know what they're doing. They just, some people make decisions, might not know.
Magic's a cash cow, right?
Differently.
So I'd like to see a world where, or potentially I'd like to envision a world where there's Gavins in every format, and there's a format panel for every format, particularly sort of legacy, modern, brilliant. I'd like that, but some people don't like the thought of it. They think
oh, why?
There's not.
It's great. You've got,
I'm not
especially
convinced.
in America, right?
I'm not convinced with the arguments against, like.
So America's obviously America gets everything. This is insight into content creation, right? Wizards and America, that is the link. That is the motherland. That's where the money is pushed the most, etc., etc. So they get all the benefits, like the MTG ambassador program.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of content creators. Obviously, they had to go silent because the rest of the world basically went crazy about it, and so did the non-content creators went crazy about it. It was really, again, PR nightmare for Wizards. But you've got a load of ambassadors on your books. Why are you not using them for panels? They play your formats. You can they work. You know, you already give them an incentive by giving them literally hordes and hordes of products and cool shit and invites to every MagicCon, yada yada yada. Why don't you try and get something a bit more out of them? Like, you've got the player base. You've took people that play these formats a lot, have opinions on them. They make videos. They make money from their opinions on these formats. Use that to your benefit and pick 7, 10, 15, 20, however many you need. Get one Wizards rep, someone there that made the design. Okay, you're going to be the lead modern designer. You're going to be the head of standard. You're going to be the head of pioneer. Right, you're the person that's going to be in the Discord with these people and having an ongoing conversation about it. Like, I don't think it's that hard. I think it's a management issue. Maybe they just don't know what they need. Maybe they haven't tried what they need. Maybe they're scared of what they need, or maybe they just don't care. I don't know. I'm just a nobody on the outside looking in, but I'm quite good at management like yourself, because we're in the military. I know how to get people to do things. It's literally my job. So, yeah, I think that's it. That's everything on bands, right?
We could literally talk for hours on this and decisions
we
that
could,
make.
because
Like...
we talk rubbish. God forbid that plane of us flying to Vegas, which is like 12 hours long. It's gonna be me and you just bobbing off.
So we've got a trip coming up. We're going to MagicCon Las Vegas. Me and Will. We're gonna. I think some of the chadmagic lads are going over there as well, but. We're going. What's our plan? We're going to Las Vegas for the weekend, and then
Las Vegas for the weekend.
Yeah.
MagicCon, we from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And then Monday we're going to go to Denver, because apparently Denver's quite good. Go in Denver. We were going to drive to Ohio.
Yeah.
Take 4 days driving, but like the cost of that vehicle costs way too much. So
ridiculous.
It's like it was like $1,000 for the vehicle for the week, or $60 for a flight. Right? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to Denver. I've got some friends in Denver. You know, it's meant to be a really cool city, so we'll go there. Hang out, see all the sites, do whatever we need to do, be tourists for a little bit. Then we'll go from there to Ohio. When we get to Ohio, like Thursday, because we're going to play Magic on Friday, because that weekend is the Apex Invitational.
Yeah.
We need to qualify for. So basically on Friday, they've got 2 qualifiers. Saturday, they've got 2 qualifiers. Sunday is the Invitational, which is a 30K event. I was there last year, and I think payouts went down to like top 64 players. They had 65 players. It was a 20K, and then because the guy that's we're actually going to be staying with him. Shout out to Kyle and all the Apex Gaming. Go to check them out. They have amazing coverage.
Yeah, they do actually.
But he was just like, look, I'm not going to have one person in the room not get money. So he's like, look, you'll get the same as whatever 64th gets, and
I love that.
It was cool.
I love that.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, you'll see it when you get there. Like, he's so passionate about the player base, about Magic, about growing the community. Like, he's just awesome. He's so nice and so cool. I love that guy to death. The whole Apex team are amazing. The coverage is like they've gone above and beyond with coverage. They've got 3 feature match tables hardwired into the building. Cameras overhead, player cams and stuff. It's so
Brilliant.
sick. A separate booth for the casters to be in and the computers. Huge player spaces, their own bar. It's sick. You're going to see it. It's
I
amazing.
can't wait. It's gonna be a trip.
Then,
It's gonna be a trip of a lifetime for me, I think.
even if you don't qualify, because I didn't qualify last time, I came you had to come top 4 in these events. I came 5th twice, so I never got to play in the money one. So I played in the RCQ for Denver on the Sunday. I basically won it. I got to the finals, but I'm like, well, I'm casting the European one. This qualifies me for the American one, but I was on my promotion course over that date. So I said to the guy, I was like, look, you give me all the ticks, you can have the invite. And he was like, I don't know. Is it? I was like, mate, I promise you, you're getting a good deal here. If you want to get on the Pro Tour, this is the deal you want. And he was like, okay, sure. And then basically I just used all my ticks, bought loads of boxes and gave all the boxes out to people because it's like, well, I can't take it home. It weighs too much in my luggage.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
it was like a win-win for everybody. It was, I'm looking to do a repeat of that. It's Apex it's, if you're in like the Ohio area, you can get there. Bear in mind, it's like an hour from the airport, which I think they might be putting on shuttle buses this year as well. Cause it's like the biggest feedback is
What, to the event?
to is it Columbus?
Columbus is the airport.
Columbus, Ohio. So basically, they're going to put like a shuttle bus on from that town to the airport, pick people up from the airport, driving back to the town. Then then they let you go do whatever you want.
Brilliant.
Go stay in your hotels, blah blah blah. Get to the venue, but like that's what I think they're going to be doing. When I'm there, mate, he'll just give us the keys to his truck. Like Kyle was so sound with me. It's like, yeah, here's the keys. I'm like, cool. I'm going to go to the shop. He's like, yeah, see it in a bit. Just driving this massive truck around America, feeling badass. It was sick. But yeah, that's our trip. Then we're going to fly home to 2 separate airports because we'll be sick of each other by that point.
Yeah.
But it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it.
I am. It's going to be amazing. I've got to put a lot of like kudos for Ellie, like letting me go, because yeah, I'm missing. We'll have Halloween over there. I mean, it's a shame I'm not got Halloween over here to be lad, but we'll have Halloween in America.
Are you going to go to that Halloween party thing?
What Halloween party thing?
There's like how they had like the Frodo disco, and then in Amsterdam they had like an emo disco. They've got like another kind of disco over there, but it doesn't matter. This means nothing to the podcast.
Let's talk about this. But we've chatted on way more than I intended. I am not going to cut this podcast. So I had a really fun time doing it. So this is going to be the podcast. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add? Socials, events coming up, etc.
I've got MTG Masters every Wednesday on the Magic Online channel and ZMTG's Twitch channel. That all goes on YouTube. We've got a charity event in 2 weeks for Trans Helpline. That's on the Saturday, 24th, I think. It's only like $10 entry. Again, no Nardu Modern. That's the last weekend of hopefully one Nardu's legal, so we banned it anyway. That's also going to get streamed on NZMTG's channel. Well, you can see I've got Nordic Masters coming up if you're in Europe. That's happening at the end of this month, so the end of August, start of September. That's a 3-day, 8-person slot RCQ over 2 days with side events that also qualify for the RCQ slot.
Brilliant.
I mean, I'm actually heading up that casting lineup, so it's going to be me, Joe Larson for all you the boomers out there. Simon Nielsen, current player of the year, current Pro Tour champion, and Eco Baron, Andreas Peterson, just a vintage cube phenomenon master at that. So that's going to be our casting team out there. It's going to be a really cool event. I'm looking forward to it. Yes, I've got a lot going on. You shouldn't ask me that question. I've got a lot coming on. It is what it is.
And
I'm playing Lorcano at some point.
Yeah, brilliant. I keep on asking, hey, Will, do you fancy coming up for the card?
Mate,
I didn't even give you a date. No, I just can't.
I don't have a free day until like November 17th. I think is the first free day I've got this year. It's good to be busy. It's good to be busy. I like keeping busy. It is what it is. It's all good.
School, yeah.
Vegas.
School holidays got to keep him busy, like. But anyway, Will, thank you for filling in for the traitor who's put his family before the podcast. And so thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. What would you expect to see after the Nadu ban? What else would you like to be banned, for example? comment on the below. I want to see it all. I want to read it all. Thanks for your support. And Will, thank you for stepping in.
Pleasure.
Right. See you later, guys.
Bye.